Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today's topic is going to be what led me to take control of my vision. And I thought I would change things up a little. And I have my best friend Ramya with joining me on Zoom, and she's going to join the conversation today and just ask some questions, and we're just going to bounce some ideas around. So let's get started. I'll give a little bit of background on what kind of led me to choose this topic is when Kelly and Company, which Remy is a co-host on, did a Back to Basics program for White Cane Week. And this was one of the topics they talked about. And it got me really thinking. And I felt like I had a lot to share and give input on.
Yeah, you always have a lot to share, and that's really cool because it was, first of all, a really amazing week, and secondly, so much to think about with some of these questions, right? So I guess that, like you said, the topic is taking control of our vision situation. And just as a disclosure, I'm also low vision. You and I have known each other forever, so we both have tons of very similar, but also just varying experiences of how we deal with vision stuff. So when it comes to vision stuff for you, Sarah, how did you start to care about your vision? Like what made you really think, "Oh, okay, this is the point in my life where I feel like I'm starting to care about my vision?"
Yeah, for sure. And that's a really interesting question because I actually thought about this a lot. And I think the first time where I sort of started to care a little bit about my vision is learning or figuring out how to take public transit. When I was in middle school, I was still given a school bus to go home, and I never lived that far. And I had one of my teachers say, no, it's time you start learning how to take public transit to school or learning how to walk from school to home on your own. You are capable to do it. And at that time, I didn't really feel capable because I was just like, well, I don't know if I can do it. But I think that kind of what pushed me to start gaining my independence, whether I use my white cane or if I just learn to use my whatever vision I had.
That's really appropriate for me too, because we did a lot of independent traveling as teenagers together, and started having much more conversations about what it felt like to kind of advocate, right? And advocacy comes up so much when we're talking about taking control because you feel more confident the more you feel like you can advocate for yourself.
Advocacy is something I think as a person with a disability, you just start to learn at a very young age or at any point in your life when you are taking control of your disability.
Yeah. So traveling is one thing. What's another thing that you would say you either had to come to terms to or really had to start pushing yourself to do in order to feel like, okay, now I'm in charge of myself and my low vision and accommodations and all that?
As a preteen and a teenager, I had a hard time just accepting my vision. And I think a lot had to do with just not knowing much about my vision. I knew I had, an eye condition and it was genetics and this is like the name of it. But I think what really helped me come to terms with my vision and then that led to gaining my full independence was being part of a gene therapy research trial. And that's when I kind of said to myself, okay, this is something that is part of you, part of your self identity. It's something that you cannot just erase and get rid of. So you're just going to have to make the most of what's been given to you and um, take advantage of whatever opportunities and things that are out there to help me become successful and become fully independent and do all the things that I wanted to do and not make my vision or my blindness an issue.
Was it hard to socialize? Like anyone at a teenage age will tell you, or at least I guess if you pass the teenage age, now you know that being a teenager is extremely difficult. But was it hard to socialize around that time for you?
Oh, definitely. Socialization was a really hard part. I think just in general, like, any teenager has a hard time like just fitting in. And on top of that, having low vision or having a disability made it a little bit difficult, especially when you are using a white cane, or if people just know you as someone that has a disability. People just give you a wide berth or just don't want to be friends with you. And I had a really hard time just making friends in high school. And that's why I did everything possibly I could in my power to just quote unquote be normal and try really, really hard to fit in whatever way I knew best at that time.
And when we toss around that word normal, I know how much you hate it, Sarah, because it's not,
Yes,
right? It's not a thing. Like,
no.
normal.
That's why I'm using quotations whenever I even say normal.
Exactly. And it's one of our pet peeves, when people kind of say like, this is normal, that's normal. But it's true. When you're a teenager, you feel like, well, whatever we are is not normal. Like having a disability or a visible disability or walking around with the white cane, and our friends with guide dogs, like you don't feel like you're normal. And because you're in an integrated society, you really, really stand out. It's totally different from maybe somebody going to a blind school. So it is difficult. And another thing that you and I both share is night blindness. So tell us about what it was like to start traveling on your own at nighttime.
That was a whole experience on its own. So I had a really hard time just using my cane. I didn't like the cane. I would say hate is a very strong word, but I did everything I could not to use my white cane. And when I started post-secondary school, when I started college, I had to travel on my own to get there, taking public transit, and I had classes that were late. And especially in the winter time, it gets dark by 4 p.m. So that is the first time I think I remember that I had to just suck it up and pull the white cane out and use it to get home. It was, to be honest, it was a very uncomfortable feeling at first. The first couple times, I felt very self-conscious. I felt like everyone was watching me. I felt like I was being judged. I just felt embarrassed. But the more I did it, the more comfortable I got. And I think when I first even started using it at nighttime, I even called up, maybe Ramya, even you, or just like the close friends around me, and said, guys, I used my cane today. I took it out and did it all on my own, and nobody had to tell me to do it.
Right? And that is milestones for people who've been not wanting to touch their canes, or then going through the phases of like, okay, I'm just gonna have it with me in my backpack where nobody can see it. Or remember the days when you'd pick a smaller cane, like the identification cane is a much thinner white cane, and you're literally using it for ID purposes, right? It's not even meant for mobility, and to help you actually travel. But you choose those canes because you're like, oh no, it's a much skinnier. People might even miss it, right?
One thing I want to just touch on, like, so when I was getting my orientation in mobility through school, which is someone that like a trained, oh, and I'm Ramya, please correct me because I cannot do this correctly, but like someone that came in from the TDSB Vision program to help me with, crossing streets safely, taking public transit, teaching me all of these skills so I can become independent. I was taught without using my white cane. I was really blessed to have such an amazing O&M instructor that said, if you're not going to use your white cane, then I'm not going to force you to use it. You need to be able to do that on your own, and I will teach you to travel independently. So it's not like I didn't know how to use my white cane. I know how to use my white cane because I was taught since like a little child. Um, but yeah, like you said, like I always just hit it and whatever. And then when it actually came to just pull it on and use it, it was a totally different experience. But Ramya, how was it for you? Were you taught O&M using your white cane or not using your white cane?
Man, I'm telling you, we could make like 17 videos on our experiences with the white cane from when we were little tiny kids going into junior kindergarten in Toronto, all the way up to where we are now in our late 20s. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was it was a rocky road. We did I got lots of mobility with the white cane. I've got lots of mobility lessons without the white cane, but with the cane being mentioned all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, I got that. Yeah.
yeah, if you had your cane, you could do this. But there was so many family things happening for me in my traveling with canes as well, because my mom was very against me using a cane when I was younger. way younger. She said, you're going to lose the vision that you could use if you rely on something to do that for you. Before we go, do you have any last comments on the encouragement of how you felt confident using a white cane? Because now you're much more confident using your cane and feeling like it's not a matter of fitting in or falling out of society. So give us some last words.
For me, it's like the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. It's hard taking that first step, but once you start seeing how you can travel independently on your own, and you don't have this fear of like, okay, I need to get home before dark, and always have, because I always scheduled all my events, around the sunset. And once you can kind of get over, there's so much more you can do once you start using a white cane. You don't have to have this fear of I need to get home before it gets dark, especially if you have night blindness. And I think it's just really important to just come to terms with your disability or with your vision loss, and then embracing it, and then using a white cane or whatever mobility device that you need, whether it's a guide dog or a white cane or a ID cane.
Exactly, because that you hit it right there. Everyone has a different experience, and people coming to terms is different for everybody, like individually. And
Yes.
maybe you're not a white cane user. Maybe you have another type of invisible disability. But if there's assistance out there for you, then based on our experience, we highly encourage you go and get come to terms with your disability, whatever that means to you. Sarah, it was nice talking to you.
And you'll get there. It's just a matter of like slowly getting there, but you'll get there.
100%. Well, I think we can wrap it there for now.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned.